Greetings, Corpse Clubbers, and welcome to another episode of Corpse Club Horror BFFs. I am one of your Horror BFFs, Patrick Bromley, joined as always by my Horror BFF, Heather Wixson. Hi, Heather.
Hello. Yes, I feel like it feels kind of silly doing podcasts these days.
It's literally all we can do.
But I was gonna say this is quite literally all we have left at this point. So, you know, we're doing what we can do at this rate. So yeah, it's a little weird, but we're here.
we are at the advantage of having always done our podcasts remotely because we're on opposite sides of the country, so we don't have to like suddenly figure out how to do this over Skype or anything. This is old hat for us. Yeah,
we don't actually have to like see each other, which, you know, is helpful because I regularly look like a slob. So I don't have to put on like pants or anything like that. Which means I'm really taking very well to the whole self-isolation.
Yeah. It's like you were made for this.
I've been prepping for this for like the last 8 years. So this is perfect. So
I should start us off by mentioning two things. One, I want to just congratulate you and thank you for the awesome work you did during February Women in Horror Month. Heather completely took over Corpse Club and did every episode herself and put out a bunch of great shows. So thank you for that. And congratulations on all your hard work.
Oh, thank you. It was interesting because I had tried to start lining up stuff early and then had a bunch of people just kind of disappear on me. So it was a lot of like Hail Marys in some instances. But I'm glad it all worked out. And yeah, I was really excited. I really wish we had more time with Amanda Wiss. She was amazing and was like literally on her way to an audition, which I think she thought was the day after we were supposed to talk. And then realized like right before we started talking that, oh no, she has to leave in 45 minutes to go to this audition.
Uh-oh.
So so the thing is like, she totally could have been like, hey, can't do this. And she didn't. And I really appreciate that because it was a really fun chat. And I like the fact that we dug into a lot more than just Nightmare. Although we did talk Nightmare, but I was just completely obsessed with the fact that like she started her career doing a stage play of The Innocents, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So yeah, right. I was very excited about that. So, but thank you.
And secondly, I want to wish my Horror BFF a belated happy birthday. It was just your birthday the other day. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. Birthdays feel so inconsequential. So I guess I could say happy early birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
We are birthday month buddies.
We are.
So, you know, I'm going to tell you, it literally felt like it meant like nothing. Like, I was just like, oh, it's my birthday. Okay. Yeah. And then it was like the stupidest crap ever. But like, I ended up like having this big stupid thing because like, look, I'm from Chicago. And you know, when you're from Chicago, like, you just want like your comfort foods from Chicago. And like right now, like things are tighter than tight, which is something I'm sure everybody out there is feeling right now because who knows what's going to happen. But I was like, God, I just want pizza. And like my favorite Chicago place, like Chicago style place, I should say, out here, like there was one at USC. It closed down because the school is stupid. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, although it's cost me like a $40 lift just to go there to get to pizza and bring it home. And I was like, you know, I wasn't going to do this, but like, if you go to Tastes of Chicago, you can order 6 pizzas for like $115, which I'm like, okay, that's like another 5 nights of dinner or, you know, so I was like, that's pretty cool. And they gave you a free pizza. And then like, it didn't show up even though I paid extra to get it on my birthday. So I was like, I literally woke up that morning. It was so stupid that I cried over pizza. I literally was crying over pizza. But I was like, you know, the world's ending. People have way bigger problems, but I just wanted my stupid pizza. So yeah, but I got it finally yesterday.
Oh, good.
And it was mostly still frozen, so I think it's going to be okay.
Good.
But I was just like, you know, it just like, I mean, this, you know, if anybody follows me on Twitter and my stupid whiny stories over there, but like, this year has been already beyond the fact that we're in the middle of like a pandemic, you know, minor thing. This year's been really dumb. And I was like, you know, I'm going to do something nice and I'm going to order pizza. I shouldn't be spending the money, but whatever, I'm going to do it. And I was like, of course, like this one dumb little thing. So anyway, I'm totally ranting, but I was like, of course. I'm like, what's the point of even having birthdays anymore? So, I mean, at least you have like a family to like celebrate with and stuff.
We can't go anywhere.
No, but like you have kids who are going to make it super fun and everything. Like my dogs didn't do shit. They're so ungrateful.
Asshole dogs.
Right? Like, come on. I feed you guys. I pull like hair poops out of your butt when you guys swallow hair and it dangles and stuff. Like the least you guys could have done for me is like, you know, a card.
To be fair, whatever. I do that for my kids as well.
Oh, you guys have that problem too?
They eat so much hair. It's really,
oh God.
It's really an issue.
It reminds me of that Army Not Cats movie. Did you ever see that?
No.
It's like this little indie psychological movie. It's actually pretty good, but it's like about people who eat hair, human hair. And then this girl like ends up like having like a big mass of it in her stomach. It's very interesting. I think it would pair very well with the movie Swallow. Have you seen that yet? I'm
deliberately not watching Swallow right now because I don't know if I could deal with the anxiety that movie is going to provoke in me.
Oh, it's so stressful, but it's so good.
Right. I'm kind of waiting until some of this blows over before I try to watch Swallow.
All right. I do recommend it, though. Haley Bennett's really good. But it's like I seriously like 30 minutes in that movie. I wanted to punch everybody in that movie that wasn't her. I was like, oh, my God, are you kidding me? Like these people are the worst. So but it's really, really good. It's a very intriguing look at OCD and pica, which is the I forget, it's like the syndrome of like basically eating like inanimate objects and things like that. So, or non-organic material objects.
Women sometimes get it when they're pregnant.
Yeah, but I guess it's like something that just happens normally too. Like it's based on
I guess his weird deficiency. Isn't it some weird deficiency in your body?
It could be, yeah. But I know like the writer director, his grandmother actually had it just in general.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he was kind of basing it off of her own experiences. Like this was back in the 50s. So they actually took her to basically a mental institution, and she had like a partial lobotomy.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's how you dealt with crazy women back then.
Science great.
It is. We've come so far.
Well, you had mentioned comfort food earlier when you were talking about pizza, and I feel like that's a good segue into what we're talking about tonight. Do you want to let everyone know this was your idea for the show this month? So I thought you should introduce it. No, I want you to get the credit, not the blame.
Oh, yeah. I'll take the credit and the blame. No, there's no credit. I mean, you're sort of the master of the marathon anyway. You can put that on a business card.
I'm thinking about it.
You should. I mean, why not at this point? You could literally put anything on your business card. Who's going to prove you wrong now?
Who am I going to give a business card to? I can't leave the house.
Exactly. You have to like fling it at somebody 6 feet away.
I might.
You're like, here, take my card. So yeah, I just thought, last week I kind of did a list of like streaming movies, and I kind of kept it on the lighter side because I was like, yeah, where's Maniac streaming? Cool. But like right now, maybe I don't really want to think about serial killers scalping young women in 80s New York. Not to pick on Maniac. I actually really like Maniac, but I just was like, sometimes you keep it a little bit on the lighter side. And then I was like, I know when things are kind of crappy, like there's certain movies that are sort of my comfort food movies, that I watch like a lot. Because I'm a creature of habit and I'm a dullard, so I like to watch a lot of the same movies. It counterbalances all the other movies I have to watch. It's like I'll get through a screen and be like, cool, I can go watch Silver Bullet now. So I thought, we could. I know we were supposed to go back into our remakes this month, and we were going to do the I Spit on Your Grave remake.
Oh God!
And I'm like, I just don't know that I'm in the headspace for that right now.
No.
And so I just thought, why don't we just sort of program our own, 24-hour comfort food horror movies to get us through these troubling times.
I like it. I think it's a great idea. Anything that gets me from watching the I Spit on Your Grave remake again, because I've actually seen it, is a great suggestion in my book.
See, I was smart enough where I actually haven't seen it yet, so...
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I'm only going to suffer once.
Yeah. No, this is good. This is fun. I have not been watching much horror since all of this started. My wife and I tried to start watching Trick the other night, which I had really wanted to see when it came out in October. and I missed it, and it just showed up on Hulu. So I was like, oh, cool, Trick is on here. So we started Trick. I made it about 5 minutes, and there's like a slaughter at a party, and I was like, I don't think I can handle this right now, so I turned it off. But I will go back to it.
Yeah, I would definitely go back. I'm in one of the minority that really love that movie. I think it's a little too long, and I think it gets a little too explaining at certain points. But I thought it was really rad as hell, and some awesome masks. But yeah, I totally get it. Like what did I try to? I was trying to watch something that was a little more serious horror. Definitely not Maniac, because I haven't watched that in like a month or two. So. I know what you're saying. I think I was watching that, and we were trying to watch movies like over the last few days for my birthday. And we were like, you know what? Let's just put on April Fool's Day. Yeah. Because we got the new Blu-ray. So. Oh, nice. And I don't know. That might just end up making it onto my list anyway. But yeah, I'm right there with you, where I'm just like, certain things I just don't have the stomach for it right now. Right. Maybe that makes me a wuss or whatever. I don't know. Maybe that's just my empathy is an overdrive or something like that. Ooh, that's a good name for a band. Empathy and Overdrive.
Empathy and Overdrive.
Wow. They're going to play Coachella next year when Coachella comes back.
They're opening for Masters of Marathon.
Love it. I like them. By the way, Masters of Marathon, like that's a good alliterative title. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah. So, T-shirt, branding. I think you could be all set up with that.
People are dying for T-shirts branded after me.
I mean, you could have stopped at the people are dying part, and that would have been accurate. Oh, gosh.
Why? Yeah. Why you got to bring reality into this? We're talking about movies, damn it.
Yes. Sorry, master of marathons. I didn't mean to offend, but yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I will let you go first. This was your excellent idea.
Oh, you make me talk first, and then you make me do the thing first.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Wow, you were even knowing that I had a huge crazy glitch with my file earlier that basically
that's true.
erased
I can go first if you want.
No, it's fine. I got this. I'm a professional.
I know you are. That's why I went to you first.
So there's a lot of movies that I watch a lot that sort of make me feel happy and fun, and and that sort of, segue over into the genre as well. I mean, I have a lot of regular movies that do that too. But I decided one of my picks is going to be House 2, The Second Story.
Wow. Starting with House 2, The Second Story, you're a monster.
I know I am. But first of all, I really like House, but I love House 2. And I will die on the hill of House 2. I will. Because not only was it good enough to be mentioned in Scream 2, thank you, Pacey. When you talk about sort of like fun, like this is a movie you could watch with kids. Do you know what I mean? But it's still fun for adults. I really love this idea, like, because my grandpa was super into Westerns when I was growing up. So I would, every time we would be there, I'd always be watching something with John Wayne in it, because unless Gunsmoke or Bonanza was on. What I really liked about this movie is that, in fact, it kind of reminded me of something like I could have watched with my grandpa. And of course there is Royal Dano in it, who plays Gramps in it, who basically comes back to life to help his grandson out, and his best buddy, Jonathan Stark.
Your best buddy, Jonathan Stark.
That's true. And there's something really fun about the movie. I love the fact that every new room is a different adventure. I like the sort of Crystal Skull, because it was way cooler when House 2 did it than when Steven Spielberg did it. It has Kane Hodder dressed up as a gorilla. It has the freaking catter puppy, which honestly, that's what we need right now. Is I need catter puppies in my life. I want to be rolling around on the ground, being covered and smothered in kisses from the catter puppy. So yeah, you laugh, but I love House 2. And it's a feel good movie for me, and that's why I included it. Plus, I also, my business card, as we were talking about business cards, has always been an homage to John Ratzenberger's character in this movie.
Oh, very nice.
Because that's how much I love House 2. So, yes.
I kid about House 2. I clearly need to revisit House 2. The last time I saw it was when that Arrow Blu-ray came out. I watched, House 1 and 2 together. and was less enthralled with the sequel than I had been as a kid, but maybe it just caught me on a bad day because truthfully, there's no accounting for like the movies that make us happy or that comfort us. Because the thing that makes me happy, you might be like, what? That's crazy. Why is that one of your comfort horror movies? And, vice versa. So even though I joke about the movie, I'm completely on board with you picking it to start your marathon.
All I'm saying is if you want a little fun gateway movie that I don't think would freak out your kids, you could go with worse movies than House 2.
Yeah.
So, and you have Amy Yazbek and Lar Park Lincoln and stupid Bill Maher.
Yeah, he shows up in there. I forgot Lar Park Lincoln was in there.
She is. She plays Ari Gross's girlfriend. I always get really excited. This is so stupid, but I always get really excited. There's the episode of Friends when Ross is trying to go get a cat with the Julie chick from China.
It's a famous episode where she leaves the voicemail.
Yes, the voicemail episode. And that's Ari Gross that she's on the date with. And I always get really excited because it was actually just on last week. And I was like, yay, it's Ari Gross.
He says something that
residuals.
He says something in that episode that I still say to this day, which is she says something like, oh my gosh, you must be so bored. And he says, no, but only because I've been playing the movie Diner in my head.
Yes.
And I still say that to this day.
Yes. I actually always say because when you're over me, when were you under me?
Yes.
That's always. So now that we return to this into the Friends podcast.
Let's just talk Friends.
Yes. Well, we're not supposed to like Friends anymore if the internet serves me correctly.
Oh, why? What happened?
Because it's, I don't know, because it's a show about nothing, but isn't that like every 90s sitcom?
Whatever.
I don't know. They're elitist or I don't know, whatever it is, but for the last few months, I've just been hearing how we're supposed to hate Friends, but
right.
Whatever.
I'm convinced I hate it.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're all on the same page now.
I'm a slave to peer pressure.
Yes. This I know about you. So, yes. But anyway, so what's your first pick?
So I stayed off brand in terms of everything that's going on in the world, except for the first and the last movie. I decided to actually acknowledge current events with my first and my last movie. But they're still both feel-good movies for me or comfort movies for me. The first one is Night of the Comet.
Nice.
From 1984 with Catherine Mary Stewart and Kelly Maroney. And I've been watching a ton of Star Trek Voyager lately, so Robert Beltran being in there is just an added bonus. I've just always loved this movie, despite everything that's happening in the world. But I love the two sisters. I love their dynamic. I love the humor in the movie. I love the cast. I love that Mary Woronov shows up. I love that Jeffrey Lewis shows up. I love just everybody who's in this movie. I love the sort of, not the unpredictability of it, because it's not that it's unpredictable, but there are moments in the movie where bad things happen and you think they might actually be happening. I don't want to give too much away for people who haven't seen. Well, whatever. There's a moment where we think
the movie's how many years old?
I know, but it's not a movie that everybody has seen. I was at a screening once that messed up the order of the reels.
What?
And so there's a sequence where you think Kelly Maroney is being killed. And given the movie that you've watched to this point, it's very possible that she is actually being killed. But then they screwed up the order of the reels, and so people found out she was alive before the proper reveal that she was supposed to be alive, and the theater got very upset. You could hear a lot of pushback. But I just love...
I would understand that.
Yeah, I just love that beat is in the movie, that it makes us care enough, and that it has us invested enough that we actually think oh, this might really be happening. They might really be killing off this character that we really, really love. It's hard to choose which one I love more. Ultimately, I'm always going to go with Catherine Mary Stewart because it's Catherine Mary Stewart. But Kelly Maroney, this is my favorite Kelly Maroney performance. I think she's so good in this movie.
Yeah, I would agree. I love their banter. I love how natural it feels.
Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously I know them both from different roles and different movies and things like that. And yet, in that movie, I believe they're sisters.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it because Kelly Maroney, obviously I know her from Fast Times and Chopping Mall. and Catherine Mary Stewart, of course, I grew up like obsessed with Last Starfighter, which might be making sorry on my list, even though it's not horror, but it's sci-fi. But like, so like, you know, and I was completely obsessed with her because of that movie. So like it's not hard to suspend that disbelief with this movie. I mean, admittedly, we're not all going into puffs of ash right now, and there's not like flesh-eating zombies. So, you know, I think it's yet. But if nothing else, it shows us that we can just hunker down in a movie theater and everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Even if we have to like spend the night with a douche bro.
And we might.
It might come down to that, folks. So get ready. It's nothing but full of life lessons.
Some of us might even be that douche bro.
Well, thank you very much. No, I'm just joking.
All right. What's your next pick?
All right. So my next pick is probably one of my favorite sort of modern horror comedies, just because it's sort of a misdirect. Or the setup is sort of a misdirect, but I went with Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Sure.
Because everybody's like, oh, it's a slasher movie. And it's not really until the end. And again, I won't give too much away because again, maybe there's somebody who hasn't seen it. And if you haven't, it's amazing. And I'm pretty sure it's streaming on Netflix right now. It's definitely streaming somewhere.
Yeah.
But for me, like my mom comes from a family of hillbillies, and hillbillies in horror movies or in movies in general sort of have a certain way that they're personified, I should say, not usually in the best of light. And what I love about this is that Tucker and Dale are like completely not stereotyped whatsoever. They're just two guys who want to go fix up their summer home, drink some beers and fish. Like they just have simple wants and needs. And then these stupid teenagers come along and screw all of that up. And I think the movie is so brilliant and works so well. Everybody in that cast is fantastic. Obviously Alan Tudyk, Tyler Labine, Katrina Bowden, who I think is absolutely understatedly hysterical in that movie. Even I think it's Lachlan Monroe is the sort of the main bad douche bro, if we're going to go with douche bros. It's so great. And when you talk about movies that like you quote, like, we have had a doozy of a day, officer. I probably say that like once a month because I'm always having a doozy of a day. I just think it's really sweet, really fun. It's not the movie that you think it's going to be. And I love and respect it for that. I love that Eli Craig took something that should have been so standard and turned it into something so much better than that.
I was just talking about this movie with the last time I socialized in a group about a week ago, and that movie came up and we were all talking about how funny it is, and we all agreed that this sequence where Alan Tudyk is being chased by the bees is one of the funniest things in a movie ever.
Like Jesus, like it's so fantastic. Or like the wood chipper, like is just like I ugly cry laugh. Like I know when we were on the podcast doing 90s stuff, and like how I said like I just turn into like a ball of giggles whenever I would see the Daffy Gremlin. Like that movie turns me into like a freaking giggle monster. Because it's got so many fun little things to it. But yeah, the bee sequence. Man, that whole movie is just it's got so many really great setups in it that just they're shocking and yet funny. And it's there to have a good time with sort of our expectations as genre fans.
Now, did you see Little Evil?
I did not yet. I heard mixed things, so it's been on my list, but it's been lower on my list.
Yeah, I didn't love it at all, and that really surprised me because I was really excited to see whatever Eli Craig did next. But
yeah, because that's with Adam, what's his face, isn't
Adam
it?
Scott and Evangeline Lilly. It's okay. I mean, it's not bad, but it's weirdly unremarkable for a guy who made something that's kind of as special as Tucker and Dale.
Oh no, that's a bummer to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Oh.
My next movie is, I wanted to go with a classic. I wanted to include a classic in there somewhere, and there's probably none that are more classic than the original 1931 Dracula, which I know is not everybody's favorite Universal monster movie. It is probably not my favorite Universal monster movie, and yet there's something about the the use of Swan Lake over the opening credits and the hiss on the soundtrack. You know, old movies have that hiss when characters aren't talking. You can really hear it, and it's so pronounced in Dracula. I mean, I love the photography. I love Bela Lugosi. I really love the movie, even though I recognize it's very slow and a little bit ponderous. I'm still a big fan of the movie, but there's something about the hiss and Swan Lake that are like it's like a big monster movie blanket for me. And so I wanted to go with Dracula.
I hear you. I will say I love, because last year, you know, obviously, or actually 2 years ago now, because we're in a time warp, when the Universal box set came out, and it gave me a really good excuse to sit down and watch every single movie. And I might also have a Universal movie on here.
Oh, very nice.
On my list.
I'll bet I know which one.
You probably don't, because I didn't go with what you might think. Okay. It's one that's sort of become a recent favorite of mine. Okay. But it was really surprising to me, like, I remember watching Dracula a lot when I was a kid, and then I kind of just didn't really watch it. And I'll tell you, like, revisiting that, like, in October 2018 was like almost like a revelation. Just how beautiful those sets are. Yeah. Just how everything feels so like huge and magnanimous and makes you as a viewer feel small. It's a gorgeous picture. I mean, obviously it's a fantastic movie, but it's just like, I almost want to like dance around in it, you know, and maybe not turn it into a vampire, but, yeah, it's crazy. I was like, I literally, when I finished, I was like, why don't I watch Dracula? Like I tend to sort of favor the other monsters sometimes, which is silly because I'm more of a vampire person, but like, man, if you're listening and you haven't ever indulged in any of the Universal Blu-rays, and you really kind of want to get back into it, like, I really recommend it because it's almost like seeing those movies for the first time. Yeah, for sure. So that's my little PSA. I wish I was getting Universal money to say that, but you know, they've got their own problems right now. Yeah, they're not making any money, so. Well, I mean, not till tomorrow then, or today when this comes out, you know, and then everybody will be able to rent The Hunt. And The Invisible Man, which I'll finally be able to see. which I helped ruin for you. That's so. Okay. I'm excited. That's the silver lining of this quarantine, is that I actually get to see The Invisible Man. It's not that Bloodshot will be out next Tuesday? I'm going to also watch Bloodshot. You know, and here's the thing, I actually think $20 is a good price point. That doesn't bother me. I don't know that I feel like $20 for that movie is a good price point, though. It's not great, but you know, if Erica and I went to see it together, we would pay that much. So we're getting our money's worth. Yeah, I mean, I have the A-list thing, so I'm kind of like, yeah, good point. But I never got a chance to see Birds of Prey in theaters. Oh, that's really good. So I'm really excited about next Tuesday because, like, we have, like, you know, we have like zero expendable cash, but I was like, you know what, screw it. I was like, maybe they're going to let us defer our bills anyways, so let's just rent it because I actually think we can own it for Birds of Prey. So cool. I'm really excited for Birds of Prey. Yeah, it's really good. We were supposed to go this week for my birthday. That was actually, we were going to go see Birds of Prey and Invisible Man at the drive-in. Did something come up or like what? Yeah, you know, just decided, let's just stay in. Sure. So, no, I get it. Sometimes you feel like doing that. Yeah, but that's why I was saying on Twitter, I was like, you know, guys, like, sometimes when you think work can't wait and you put your life on hold, just let life win every once in a while because, you know, you just don't know. And now I'm like, I will never get to see that movie on a big screen in a theater. So shame on me. Never say never. There's always revivals. And that's true. In 10 years when it goes around for like its repertory screenings, I'll be there. Or in a few months when it's nominated for Best Picture because only 5 movies came out this year. I'm so excited to see Elizabeth Moss win that Oscar. Like, man, it's gonna be a drag down, knockdown fight between her and Margot Robbie. Like, but I'm here for it. Yeah, me too. We can just give it to them both. I'm down. Yeah. They'll do the Oscars over Skype. I mean, at this point, sure. Or they have to all sit like 6 feet from each other, so there's only like 30 people that actually show up for the Oscars. Right. Think of all the seat fillers that are out of work. I know. What am I going to do now? I know. You know what's the stupidest thing is that, like, okay, so one of my garbage shows that we watch is Masked Singer.
Oh boy.
Because I know I'm a glutton for punishment, whatever. I don't really watch reality TV shows like ever, but for some reason I watched this one. And I was like, so literally like this week we were watching and the episode is like filled with people. So obviously they record early. And I was like, oh my God, I hope they finished recording everything because how are we going to do Masked Singer if there can't be people in the audience? This is literally the stupid shit that runs through my head when the world is ending. So yes, it's good to know that I have priorities, everybody. Okay, so my next pick, I went with sort of a goofy favorite. I kind of kept them all in like sort of the comedy horror realmish for the most part.
Yeah, a lot of mine are too.
Yeah, I went with Motel Hell.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes, because you know it's gonna save us in the midst of all of this is Farmer Vincent's Fritters.
Yeah.
It's a really goofy movie. As a kid, I didn't really like it because I guess I just didn't. It went over my head, if you will. And as an adult, like I kind of fell in love with it all over again.
This is your second Ratzenberger movie.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize. Yeah, there's probably going to be some crossovers, I think, going on with this. But I totally forgot that John Ratzenberger was in that until you just mentioned it. I was like, oh, of course he is. Look at that, John Ratzenberger. National treasure. Yeah, I really love this goofy little movie. I mean, it was the last role for Rory Calhoun, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And I just think like because I think he was sick. I think.
Oh, no way. I swear I just watched like the Angel movies the other night. We just watched Avenging Angel and I'm pretty sure he was in that, but very clearly sick. Unless I'm confusing him with somebody else.
No, you're probably right.
No,
actually,
yeah, he continued to work all the way into the 90s.
He did. So where did I hear that? Whoever said that was a liar.
That's all right.
Liars. Yeah, for some reason I thought that was it. But no, because he lived until almost 2000, wasn't it? Or the 2000s?
1999, yeah. He passed away in 99.
All right. So I'm not completely off my rocker. Anyway, you know, I mean, it's a goofy little movie talking about sort of consumerism in a way, in a very goofy, backhanded approach. I love the idea of human gardens. I think that's pretty nifty. And yeah, I think it's a really fun, I don't want to say throwaway movie because that feels like it's demeaning the movie, but it's just a fun movie you can kind of put on and just sort of kick back a little bit and forget that the world's ending around you. You know, when your worst fear is that you're going to end up in somebody's, you know, garden, you know, becoming fritters.
It also has one of my favorite punchlines of any horror movie. I don't want to say what it is, but Farmer Vincent's last line never fails to make me laugh very, very hard.
I think I know what you mean.
It's his big. Yes. It's his big confession.
Yes.
And it's very funny.
Yes, it is. I don't want to ruin it, but I will say, you know, meat's meat and a man's got to eat. So it's hard. It's hard to argue with that kind of logic right now. So
yeah. All right. Next for me is I have a couple of slashers on my list because slashers tend to be my kind of go-to comfort horror movies. So first up for me is Hatchet. It's a horror comedy. The comedy isn't all that funny, but the tone is very light and the kills are so over the top that they themselves actually become very funny. Has a really good cast. I like the energy of it. I like the Victor Crowley character. I find Adam Green's movies generally pretty comforting. So Hatchet it is.
Yeah, I tend to find Frozen to be this super snuggly warm blanket that I curl up with. It's super comforting. It's like crying about not being able to feed their dog again. I'm joking.
That's why I didn't pick Frozen.
I know, it was funny because like there was a couple where I was going to pick them. I'm like, well, they're kind of Christmas movies, so I feel like that's weird.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick that. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I love the first Hatchet. I like 2 and 3. I never got to see Victor Crowley.
I like it.
I never got a copy. Never got a screener. And it played out here for like a really limited, I think there was like 2 weekends, and I think one of them might have been like a Fantastic Fest weekend or something. I can't remember how it all broke down, but I never got to see Victor Crowley, so I was bummed about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first Hatchet means a lot to me, personally and professionally. And I can still remember the weekend that I saw it, opening weekend, 3 times.
Wow.
Yes, and there was very, very minimal people in the theater, but I was proud to be there. I actually saw it twice in one night on Friday. So
that's
actually
impressive.
one of the theaters I went to was the AMC Barrington.
Which I remember it playing there, and I didn't go see it, and I still kick myself for having missed out on.
Which was weird, because we might have run into each other, because this was before we were talking. So we could have been like, Hatchet, and you'd have been like, Hatchet, and we'd been like, Hatchet. And it would have been a whole thing. But yeah, no, I love that you picked it, because I think Hatchet's a really good choice, and I love Joel David Moore in it.
Yes.
And I think Victor Crowley is a really fun sort of, I guess, new icon for this age, because now he's going to be an action figure, which is really cool.
Is.
So hopefully, with everything going on, that won't delay anything. But I think that's pretty awesome that we're going to be able to have several versions of Victor Crowley to put on our shelves.
Yeah.
As we fight off looters and people as they try to enter Bartertown and such in the future.
Oh, gosh.
No, I don't think it'll be that bad, but I don't know. Famous last words, I suppose.
Perhaps.
Yeah, but no, I like that you picked that. It's got, I think that's probably got one of my favorite kills.
Mrs. What's her name?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Carmody? I can't remember her name.
I think so.
Okay.
I want to say that's right.
Okay.
Are you double checking?
I am double checking because
we're so thorough and prepared.
I feel
everybody.
terrible that I didn't know. Mrs. Permadio. It's Mrs. Permadio. I don't know where I got Carmody from, but yeah, Mrs. Permadio.
Okay. Yes. Good stuff.
It's pretty spectacular.
It is. That was actually the kill they showed us at Flashback Weekend when Green was there promoting it before it came out. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go see this movie. Yeah. So I was like, I'm in. So, yeah, I think that's pretty rad. It's not really streaming anywhere, is it?
No, I don't think so. No, like I feel like 3 sometimes is and 2 sometimes is. 1 used to be on Amazon Prime, but it was
3 might be on Tubi TV right now.
Okay,
I think I ran across it recently.
But I think they really only show the R-rated version whenever it streams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give Shudder should get on it and give us some Victor Crowley.
Yeah, I'm surprised that hasn't been picked up by anywhere, really. It was showing on cable every once in a while. Like, recently, I feel like Cinemax was showing it, but...
They were during Halloween season.
Yeah.
Because I was doing all my TV listings, and I would see it pop up quite a bit. So, okay. Which is good. Lives on cable.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Okay, cool. So my next pick is the aforementioned April Fool's Day.
I figured this would make an appearance.
Yes. I mean, not only is there the well-timed release of Scream Factory's Blu-ray. Have you gotten it yet? I
have not.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure, I mentioned this on Twitter last night, but I'm pretty sure this is an extended cut of the movie. And it's not the cut that is on the DVD or on the HD version that lives on Vudu.
Interesting.
Yes, because a few years ago they had a special screening of it, which I went to because, of course, and it was from the UK, and so they're like, I knew at the minute, like they were like, oh, there's like some extra stuff, and I knew it as soon as we got into the opening where Muffy's in the basement, because it's extended more, like she's kind of dawdling a little bit more before she gets to the music box. So we watched the Blu-ray last night, but that's when Brian and I both realized, because I've made him watch it like numerous times, and he's like, this is definitely the extended version. I was like, I thought so. So I'm going to go and do a compare and contrast, like after we do this, because I'm such a nerd about these things. But if for nothing else, I would recommend getting the Scream Factory Blu-ray for April Fool's Day for that reason, because I think it really does a really great job of, not only letting scenes breathe a little bit more, there's a little more tension to some of the moments, especially towards the last act when like they're all kind of running around the house and trying to figure things out. And it really kind of gives Amy Steele a little bit more to do. But there's also, you get a little bit more of Skip's story in the movie as well. There's a little more extended scenes with him, like especially when he's talking to Nan on the porch. And then his scene, like when he goes missing eventually, like, I mean, if I'm giving anything away, I'm sorry, but the movie's like almost 35 years old. Either way, it's really great stuff. April Fool's Day has been like a favorite of mine pretty much since I rented it in 1987. And it totally blew me away. Just because I was expecting a regular old slasher movie and it's not at all. And I remember because like, we love sort of murder mystery movies in our house. That's kind of like our thing. And Brian was telling me because he kind of was like a little bit of a wuss when it came to horror movies when he was like a little kid. So he was scared to rent April Fool's Day because he didn't like the artwork with the girl with her hair was in a noose.
Right.
Like that scared him, which I think is hysterical.
That's pretty
funny. I was like, you're such a wuss. And so he never saw it until we started dating. And he was like, oh, my God. He's like, I cannot believe that I never grew up with this movie because it's like so right up our alley. Just because like Clue is one of our sort of cornerstone films in our house. But it's great because like I was talking about it on Twitter and there was a bunch of people who were like, I've never watched this before. And I am so excited that there potentially could be people out there who are going to discover April Fool's Day for the first time. And I really hope that they're able to sort of to step back and accept the movie for what it is, not for what they think the movie is promising them.
Right.
So that's why I don't really say too much, but
I think that'll take a couple of viewings.
I think so, but I think like even as a kid, it worked perfectly on me, but maybe that's just because I was a kid and I was willing to go with it.
Right.
Like, I don't know if we're just more sort of pessimistic as viewers now, where people just immediately like, oh, well, bam, bam, bam. You know, I see people who kind of do that, like they're just immediately turned off because it's not the movie that they were quote unquote promised. But I do think it's absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite like horror comedies of the 1980s. It also sort of lives up to the Frank Mancuso Jr. Sort of movies of having to have weird shots of hot dogs in them.
Okay. I don't know if I was aware of that.
Yes, because they have the weird shot of hot dogs in there. It's also in Friday the 13th Part 2, both Amy Steele movies. So I actually want to go through and watch like different Frank Mancuso Jr. movies to see if that was really like a motif for him in the 80s. But I know specifically those two movies have weird shots of hot dogs. So if you need a weird hot dog, like double feature, Friday 2, April Fool's Day, there you go.
I often do need a weird hot dog double feature.
I can make you a double feature out of anything.
Two things. One, those of you who are members of Corpse Club can go back and listen to the commentary that Heather and I did for April Fool's Day probably about 2 years ago, but that's worth listening to.
Yes.
And two, speaking of Frank Mancuso Jr., provided it still happens, and I don't know that it will at this point, have you seen how many Friday 5 people they've been adding to Flashback?
I have, and I thought of you, and I was like, God damn it. I mean, I'm hoping by August, a lot of this is going to be worked out.
Yeah.
I was like, of course it would be the year that they're doing all the Friday 5 people.
Right.
Just to really torment you.
Right.
But, oh, yeah, I saw it, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm never going to hear the end of this with you.
It's very exciting. They added Junior.
Junior on the frickin' motorbike.
And they added Ma.
I really hope that they let me do that panel if it happens.
Of course. Yeah.
I think if I get to do that panel, I think you're going to have to do it with me.
I will gladly do it with you.
Because I think that's the only way it's just going to be perfect. Yeah, no, I'm like, why are we doing Friday 5? Like, I mean, I guess it's because it's 35 years, but so?
Because its time has come. Its time
really
has come.
Its time is gone. Yeah, no, I saw that. And I was like, oh, Patrick is going to be so excited. I actually meant to text you when they added Junior because I saw it on the website. And I was like, oh, my God, he's going to be so excited. So I'm glad you're keeping up on that. Yeah, I'm really hoping flashback happens.
Yeah,
I'm
me
hoping
too.
I can get the flashback. So
Right. Yeah.
at this
Really.
rate, but yeah, I just yeah, I saw that and I was like, of course.
All right. My next movie is. Normally, this is where I would put like a Vincent Price, Roger Corman, Poe adaptation. I decided not to do that because then I was like, oh, maybe Last Man on Earth. And then I realized that would freak me out too
Oh.
much. Right. So I didn't want to go that dark. So instead, I went with a different gothic horror film from 1966. And that is Mario Bava's Kill Baby Kill. My favorite Mario Bava movie. It's basically just a bunch of people in a house being haunted by the ghost of a little girl. And it is like a gothic wet dream. It's a movie that it's like it almost doesn't matter what it's about because how it's about it is so cool that I'm on board just for the atmosphere and the kind of like with Dracula. I'm in it for the way it feels as opposed to kind of the plot of the movie, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with the plot of the movie, but for me, it's all about the atmosphere. And movies like this, I find very, very relaxing. I like living in these worlds for a little while. I wouldn't want to actually live there, but I like watching movies like this. So that's my next movie.
I am sadly Bava deficient still. I made really good progress with Fulci
Yeah.
a few months ago, and I was really proud of myself. And then, this year happened, and it's like all my sort of, because I was trying to really push myself into watching like one new movie a week, one new horror movie, I should say, a week. And once Sundance happened, like I just haven't had a chance to do that. But I've been wanting to do some Bava. I've actually noticed there's quite a few on Tubi TV. Is it Tubi, Tubby, whatever?
I think it's Tubi.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's free with ads, and that's awesome. And they have a really fantastic sort of collection of just like everything and anything you could be looking for. And I'm pretty sure I found a couple Bavas on there that I added to like a thing. But yeah, I've been wanting to sort of, now that I've dipped my toes in the waters of Fulci, I was like, okay, Bava's another one that I've never really done a whole lot with. And there's another Italian director that I'm also a little deficient in as well. Why can't I think of his name?
I'm not sure.
Is it Lindsay?
It could be, although Lindsay didn't make a ton of horror movies. He did make some, but he didn't make a ton of horror movies. And he will come up later.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Yeah, he's another one because I've always wanted to. I've always really wanted, because like everybody sort of talks about it a lot, so I've always kind of wanted to watch Eaten Alive.
Oh, sure.
I feel like that's one I can handle. Also, Ghost House has always been something that's intrigued me as well. So
I love Ghost House. Ghost House is so much fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's like quite a few of his titles where I'm just like, oh, I would watch that. Like, I've never seen Nightmare City either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Do I know any other titles? No, I can't show off and be smart. So no, I don't know any other titles. Those are the three I know. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Well, those are three good ones. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, he's another one that I'd like to sort of, even with like the stuff that he did outside the genre, I just think is really interesting, especially knowing now like how much Fulci like was into comedies and stuff before everything. Like, I think that's really interesting. So
yeah, Lindsay's cop movies are awesome and very much worth seeking out.
Okay. Good to know.
What is next for you?
So my next movie is, I'll just go with one of my more obvious movies since I did my other obvious movie. I went with Fright Night.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm really digging deep here into the well of Heather Wixson isms. But like right now, I just want like little movies that have a little comedy to them, or a little fun, shows that love triumphs over all, and of course, I mean a love between a boy and his idol, if you will. The fact that they're able to conquer Peter Dandridge and save Amy and her virginity, I'm guessing. But no, I'm just kidding. I love Fright Night. Fright Night has always been sort of one of those comfort food movies for me. I think there's something really special about it. It's really timeless. I'm not saying anything that anybody out there listening doesn't already know, but I very much would include it here just because it gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah.
Like so many of these other movies. So I went with Fright Night. Obviously, if you are really interested in Fright Night and haven't heard me ramble on about it like a billion trillion times already, we do have, when we used to do our Deadly magazine, there's an entire magazine dedicated to Fright Nights that I put together, featuring all kinds of interviews and photos and fun stuff like that. So if you want to check that out, and you need something to read during these dark times, I mean, I guess there's probably worse ways to spend your time. I mean, sure, there's better ways to spend your time too, but
I disagree.
I don't know.
It's the single best way to spend your time, reading Fright Night coverage.
Yes, it is, actually.
Fright Night's a great pick. Obviously, that movie rules. For me, the next one, I wanted to get some full moon up in here, so I went with Puppet Master 2. I didn't want to be so obvious and go with Puppet Master. I decided to go with Part 2 because I might actually prefer Part 2 to Part 1. It's directed by Dave Allen, who was a great special effects wizard, specializing in like stop motion effects. And so the stop motion effects in Part 2 are pretty incredible. He worked on a lot of full moon movies, but this is the only one he directed. It's got Charlie Spradling in it, so it's automatically better than a movie that doesn't have Charlie Spradling in it. It's basically just the same movie as Part 1, turned up a little bit. And I just, you know me and my love of full moon. I wanted to include it in here somewhere.
Yes. Are you going to rent Corona Zombies?
No, I am not.
Yeah. I was like, really,
I'm
Charlie?
not an asshole.
Just give us a week, man.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
We get it. Someone's going there. I mean, I kind of assumed Asylum would go first.
It's a bummer that it was him.
It's like, just give us a few weeks. Just give us a little perspective so then we can have a little fun.
Right.
But right now we're all a little tense and scared. And I'm
People are actually dying. Maybe now's not the time for your stupid movie. But
give me some more Ginger Dead Man.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. Whatever. Somebody was going to do it, I suppose. But no, I actually think, and it's been so long since I watched the first two Puppet Master movies. I only remember watched the first three. But I actually think I do prefer 2 to 1 as well. But it's also, this has sort of made me realize I really should go back and watch them again, because I don't think I've watched them in probably at least 10 years.
Yeah, and you might be fine, but I enjoy them.
Yeah, no, I think they're fun. I remember when I saw the original when I was a kid, I was completely so, I mean, I guess because and the whole craze of toys going evil and things like that, it just really sort of hit my imagination at the right time. So I've always really liked the first 3, actually. Yeah. But I think I like 2 more than 1 as well.
And you're totally fine stopping after 3.
Okay, well, at least I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I never watched Axis of Evil and all that stuff.
No, you're fine.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, you're the full moon guy, so I trust your judgment on this.
Yeah. I don't recommend anything past 3, even though I kind of like 4 and 5. You're fine not seeing them.
Good to know. I like some time savers.
Yep.
All right. Well, my next movie is actually a sequel as well. It's not House 2 again, but I actually went with Waxwork II, Lost in Time, because I feel like that movie doesn't get talked about nearly enough. I love Waxwork, but Waxwork II is, again, a movie. It came out when I was junior high age-ish, and I didn't watch it till later in high school, and was kind of oh, this is weird, because now we have a new girl, and you know how sometimes you get a little precious, when people recast characters and stuff, and you can't almost get past that.
Definitely.
So, thankfully I'm a smarter grown up now. And then I rewatched it a few years ago, and I was like, holy shit, this movie is really fun. Very much like the original, has a lot of different setups, a lot more sci-fi to it though, which I think is really fun. Because you have sort of body snatcher stuff, alien stuff and things like that. You've also got some zombies. You've got the Frankenstein section is really, really fun. Zach Galligan is amazing in it. I feel like Hollywood did Zach Galligan kind of dirty because, like, I think mainstream Hollywood just always saw him as the Gremlins kid. And I think for me, Waxwork II showed that he was so much more than that. And I don't feel like the rest of the industry kind of caught on to that. And I know he's, kept busy and things like that, but like he should have been in so many more things because he was so freaking talented and really funny and had really great timing. And I think Waxwork II is a really great showcase for him. It also has Bruce Campbell in it, which is really fun as well. There's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember, is it Drew Barrymore who pops up with with like a cameo that's unlisted or uncredited?
It's been way too long since I
want to say that was something that I talked to Anthony Hickox about. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe I think I forgot. I'm looking up my piece. I think I did something on that.
I don't see anybody listed on the IMDb that would be like.
No, she was like uncredited, and I think
Drew Barrymore.
Yes, so I was right. Yeah, she was friends with somebody who was in the movie. And she just happened to show up that night, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to be in this?" And she was like, "Okay." And then she just kind of did it. And there's just no credit to it. But yeah, I think it's a really, really, I love the original Waxwork. But I think 2 is just really fun, really adventurous, has a really different sort of kinetic energy to it. And that's why I put it on my list, because I feel like we just don't talk about Waxwork 2 enough.
Yeah, that reminds me that I need to revisit Waxwork 2.
Yeah, I never got the set.
Yeah, the Vestron set.
Yeah, I never was able to pull the trigger on it because I think it was like $34 when it came out or something.
I think a lot of those are a lot cheaper now, but they were priced very high, and I don't know whatever happened. They stopped putting stuff out. Yeah, so the double set right now on Amazon is $15.
Oh, there you go. That's a bargain at twice the price even.
Yeah.
Even if it was 30 and 15 for each movie. I just wanted less than 30 or less. I felt like was like acceptable. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
I think I have some Amazon points. I might have to use those.
Woohoo.
Yeah, there you go. Sale.
Waxwork 2, baby.
All right. So what's your next pick?
My next pick is Satanic Panic. The most recent movie on my list just showed up on...
I had a feeling you were going to do this.
Yeah, it just showed up on Shudder, I think, today, as of the time that we're recording this, or yesterday, if you're listening to this the day it came out. Chelsea Stardust's second movie after the Hulu Into the Dark feature, All That We Destroy. Just one of the best horror comedies in recent memory. It's about a pizza girl who accidentally delivers to a satanic ritual and gets caught up in everything that's going on. Really great cast. Again, Rebecca Romaine is really, really terrific in it. Jerry O'Connell, for me, kind of steals the movie in a one-scene role.
So freaking good.
He's amazing. But that's not to take anything away from, the leads in the movie, whose names I'm blanking on right now. Haley Griffith and Ruby Modine. I'm sorry. Haley Griffith and Ruby Modine.
From Happy Death Day, Ruby?
From Happy Death Day, yeah. But yeah, a bunch of other people, recognizable faces show up in it. AJ Bowen and Jordan Ladd and Jeff Daniel Phillips. And if you're a horror fan, there's just a bunch of like fun surprises in there. It just seems like a movie that's engineered to give audiences a really, really good time. And it is very successful in that.
It really is. I think it's a really great movie about empowerment in a way and sort of taking back. Yes, it's very sort of female specific in this instance, but I think it's something that a lot of people sort of face, especially when like society sort of has predetermined who you are and what your worth and your value in this world is. And I think a lot of us right now are learning that like our value comes from other places because the world isn't looking out for anybody right now. And I think there's something really sort of empowering for that for anybody. When you kind of see like, basically what, oh my goodness, I'm totally blanking on her name. Sam is dealing with through the movie. Because, she's just sort of, she they're basically trying to steal her agency. And she really fights hard for it. And I think the scenes with her and Ruby are just brilliant and really sweet and really fun, and have a really good energy between them. I also like the fact that Jeff Daniel Phillips shows up in it too, which always makes me happy. But yeah, I think there's something really timely about that movie. I think it gets a little busy sometimes, but it never bothered me. But I like the fact that, like, I think there's been a lot of discussions about, like, the Black Christmas remake,
which I haven't seen yet.
Yes, but they're saying that, like, sort of it was heavy-handed, and I think it was, and I think that was the intention, and I think the way that Chelsea sort of handles this, and obviously the script was written by Grady Hendrix, based on a story that he did with Ted Gagin. Like, I think it's really smart about the way that it handles a lot of issues in this movie. Like, it's fun, but it's also very issue oriented without you kind of knowing it. Right. Until it sort of gets into the thick of things. But it's a really great movie, and I'm really glad to see that it's up on Shudder.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are going to discover it that way, and that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard these days because there's, like, they're up at least until, like, the last few weeks. There was always so much content between theaters and VOD and on demand and all that kind of stuff. Like, if there's one positive to take out of this, is that it's giving people a chance to sort of rediscover movies that they might have missed otherwise.
Yeah.
So if you can take one positive out of all of this, I think that's it. And I'm really excited to sort of see a bunch of people sort of fall in love with this movie, because I think there's a lot to love.
Yeah.
And that's my piece.
Well said.
Boom.
Right. What's next for you?
All right. So my next movie is my Universal movie. I know you're probably thinking that I was going to go with Son of Frankenstein.
No.
Oh, interesting. Because that's sort of like that's been, like, always sort of like my ultimate, like, of the genre, like, comedies that kind of came out, like, of those movies.
Okay.
But I actually went with The Invisible Woman.
Oh, okay. I was halfway there. I thought Invisible Man.
Ah, yes. I mean, that one's really, again, I was trying to keep it a little lighthearted. That one's really dark and it's awesome. For me, what I really like about Invisible Woman is, one, super duper relevant right now, for a movie that was made 80 years ago, which is kind of mind blowing. But it's a really fun comedy that sort of plays with all the Invisible Man tropes in a really interesting way to turn it into sort of gender politics, but, like, in a really fun way. I love Virginia Bruce, who plays the main girl in it. Her name is Kitty, and she's always been, like, sort of a model at, like, different, like, or not different, but, like, at oh god, it's like a department store. Sorry, it's been so long since we had, like, reality and, like, real things, like, or I've gone to a mall. I'm like, what is that thing with a place where you shop for clothes like you used to do, like JCPenney, a department store? But she was like a model who was always, like, talked down to by her boss, and, like, always just sort of valued for her looks. And I think it does a really good job of sort of playing with those ideas in a really smart and lighthearted way. John Barrymore is in it, which he's really fun in it as well. It's got some good little, sexual tensions, or as much sexual tensions as you can have in 1940. And what's really funny is that Shemp Howard is actually one of the gangsters in the movie.
Nice.
Which is really fun, because I didn't even know that he did that until I saw, Invisible Woman a few years ago. And I was like, whoa, I think that was Shemp. So it's just a really, it's one of sort of the more underrepresented of the Universal monster movies. And I think, like, for me, like, I'm really glad we have the Invisible Man that we have, and it's really good and serious, and I like that. But I think if you want something a little lighthearted, this is a good way to go.
I've never seen it.
Really? You should.
Yeah.
I would say make some time.
I will.
It's really fun.
You've sold me on it.
All right. I love it.
I only recently, maybe last October, got that Blu-ray set of all the Invisible Man movies, but still have only seen the original film. I've never seen, like, Invisible Agent or Invisible Man Returns. Is that the sequel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Invisible Agent's super fun because it's basically like the Invisible Man taking on Nazis, which
Right.
again, strangely very timely right now. And that's like a real fun sort of like war spy movie. That is it's definitely a lot more lighthearted than the original movie. The original is very, dark and sort of menacing at times. So it's interesting to me that like the original movie in that series is like this very eerie and sort of foreboding movie. And a lot of the other sequels sort of let up on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would recommend them.
All right.
Yeah.
My next pick is another sequel. Like I said, there are a few genres of horror more comforting to me than slasher movies, and no slasher franchise more comforting to me than the Friday the 13th series. I'm not going with part 5. I'm not going with part 4, which is my favorite and I think the best of the movies. I went Friday the 13th part 3 because I think it's the most fun of the franchise. All the 3D stuff is the goofiest. And I feel like it gives me the most of what I want out of that franchise in terms of the tone of it and the energy of it. Like I said, it's probably the 4th or 5th best one to me, or my 4th or 5th favorite. But I love a lot of these movies, and I love this one a lot. And I just think it's the most fun of the series.
3 has really grown on me. I think Dana Kimmel is the worst of the final girls.
She's not great
until we get later in the series
to like part 8, right?
8, yes. She's so over dramatic. Where she's like, let me get to know this place again. Oh, everything is such drama in my life, and my parents, they yelled at me, and then Jason chased me, and she's like, and then I invite my boyfriend here, but like, I just want you to like lift my parents' hay, but I don't really want to spend time with you, but don't leave me. She's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that at one point Rick is pretty much wearing Mrs. Voorhees' sweater in the movie. We watched 3 a lot in our house. We watched 2, 3, and 4 quite a bit.
That's a good run.
It is. I love the characters, and the thing that I think that kind of bothers me a little bit about 3 is I really want to like Shelley, but I think now, like as an adult, like because as a kid growing up, I saw mostly the TV cut, so it cut out the part where he calls Vera a bitch.
Yeah, that's the moment where I turn on Shelley.
And I'm just like, Shelley, come on now, like don't do that.
That's where Shelley becomes an incel.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, well, Shelley gets what he gets, and he deserves it in the movie. But I love it. I love the little gang of people like who apparently are going to burn down a barn in retaliation for them knocking over their motorcycle, because that's a reasonable response to that situation.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you've already punched out windows and shit. Now you're going to like burn down a barn, but okay, like that's cool. But yeah, I like 3 a lot. I think, oh my God. Brooker was the Jason in that movie. He's got a really fun sort of carriage to the way he does Jason in that movie. I think it's the 3D is so much where he's like, I warned thee with the eyeball in the face or the baseball bat. And I'm like, whoa, like we seriously, like every time we watch it, like we're always like, whoa, every time the 3D moments kind of happen. The yo-yo is a good moment.
It's so dumb, but I love it.
And it's such a weird movie also because like, why did they make Debbie pregnant?
I don't know. One of the weird choices in that franchise.
Yeah, and like they make her pregnant and she's like, yeah, I'll drink beer, but I won't smoke weed. Like it's such like very weird choices in that movie. And she's like stick thin and does not look pregnant whatsoever, but okay. But yeah, it's such an oddball little movie. But I've really grown to love it over the years, although I still, Chris, she's so much.
She's not the best.
No, I mean, especially after Amy Steele is Ginny,
right?
Like it's just like throwing like a cold like cup of water in your face.
She's a definite downgrade, yes.
Yeah, but then we come back to Kimberly Beck, and it's they'll kind of come back. Although I think Corey Feldman's sort of more the final girl.
Yeah, I like movie. Kimberly Beck, but I don't love her in that movie. I think she's kind of she's non-starter.
Yeah, and she's also kind of way too obsessed with this dude who's going to go sit in the forest rather than taking care of her brother. But, I mean, Rick was kind of, he's kind of handsome, so I get it.
Sure.
And he did die for her, so,
He did.
the ultimate. So, yeah, no, I think, I think Kimberly Beck is kind of a really terrible sister in that movie, but what are you going to do when you're a teenager? You're led by hormones. What's going to happen? What are you going to do about it? But Chris is just led by drama. So, but no, I like 3. I'm glad you included a Friday on here. So yeah. I wish I had, but I'm terrible.
It's all right. At least it's being represented somewhere. What is next for you?
All right. So next for me, I went with, I think this is probably a really good comfort movie for a lot of folks, but I went with Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Sure.
Goofy little movie from the Kyoto brothers. Who doesn't love Killer Clowns from Outer Space? If you can't watch that movie and just have a big goofy grin on your face, I don't really want to know you. I'm going to be honest. It's, again, super lighthearted, super great effects. It makes the most of it's basically no budget. As a kid, I was completely convinced of everything. Obviously, as an adult, I see the little bit of the seams and stuff. But I really think it's a lot of fun. I wish we'd gotten another one. I know people talk about more now, and I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm almost kind of okay with it living within its own little microcosm now. But yeah, I think it's just super ridiculous fun. Totally goofy, totally lighthearted. I love the scenes in the jail. I love the tiny little, I'm totally blanking on the girl. Is it Debbie who's in the bathroom who gets...
Yeah.
Okay. I love the little goofy tiny killer clowns that kind of start popping up everywhere. I think that was really fun. Yeah, I just think it's a really goofy little movie that the world needs right now.
It's what's great about Killer Clowns, and I think I've said this about the movie before, but I'll repeat myself here, is that not enough horror movies deliver fully on their concept. And what I love about Killer Clowns is it's like they sat down and they said, okay, what's every single clown related gag we could stick in this movie? And then they proceed to do every single one. So it's so satisfying because it really delivers on this idea of these monster alien clowns, which is all you want from a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And it so over delivers on what it promises. And as horror fans, I feel like we are very used to movies that under-deliver what we are promised.
Yes.
And Killer Clowns is not that movie.
No, definitely not.
All right, my next one, I usually pivot to some weird Italian horror about halfway or a little bit more than halfway, provided we're watching these in a 24-hour span. This is kind of like the middle of the night period. I wanted to make sure I had some Lucio Fulci in here, so I went with City of the Living Dead, which is not my favorite. It's probably my second favorite Fulci behind The Beyond. But again, it has an atmosphere that I find weirdly comforting, even though it's such a nightmarish, gory, horrific movie. Basically, a priest hangs himself in the opening minutes of the movie and unleashes the gates of hell, which is the alternate title of this movie. And zombies pop up and start tearing off the backs of people's heads. And a woman throws up her insides in real time. And there's all kinds of messed up shit that you will see in this movie. And I adore it.
Yeah, this was, I still haven't made it to this one yet. Have I? No.
I don't know. I think it's on that set that you got.
When we did our discussion.
Yeah.
Hold on, because I literally can't keep track of anything. We did, oh my God. So we did The Beyond. We did House by the Cemetery, and we did Zombie. So I haven't made it to this one yet.
Okay.
So, all right.
It's on the Lucio Fulci Collection Blu-ray, if you have that one.
Yes, I do. You know why I have that one?
Why do you have that one?
Because my horror BFF is the best and sent it to me.
Hey now. Yes. It's on the House by the Cemetery is on there. New York Ripper is on there. That's kind of a graduate studies Lucio Fulci movie, so I would hold off on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
gotcha.
City of the Living Dead rules.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I don't think that was one of the ones you watched. And I was like, wait, no, we did Beyond, we did House by the Cemetery, and we did Zombie. So yes, all right,
I forgot that we did a very Fulci Christmas.
We did. That's how we should celebrate every Christmas.
That was Fulci. Fun. I agree.
Yes, this is how we should always celebrate our Christmases. Yeah, so my next one, I went with like sort of a more modern-y movie. And I was really torn between two. I originally was going to go Happy Death Day because it is sort of a fun movie for me. But I ultimately went with one that's a little more happy to it at the end. And I went with Little Monsters.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and not the one with Howie Mandel.
No, I know.
And Fred Savage. For those who are listening, it was a Sundance movie last year that came to Hulu in October, written and directed by Abe Forsyth, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Alexander England. It's a little like, oh, look, a zombie outbreak at a military base and the world is screwed now. So it's a little like, oh, okay. But it has such a really sweet heart to it. And so much of that is due to Lupita, which I look at the performances between this and Us in the same year, I'm like, wow, she was doing some stuff. Because she's like the teacher you always wanted. You just want to hang out with her. But ultimately there's also these moments that sort of peel back layers on her that shows that she's just a normal human being too. Cause like they idealize her through the eyes of Alexander England's character, because that's the way he sees her. And then when they really kind of become human beings and sort of relate to each other, that's when you sort of realize like who she is beyond sort of this facade, by the way that Dave, Alexander's character, sees her. And it is a movie that actually made me tolerate Josh Gad, who I just cannot tolerate. Like, it was one of those where I was like, oh man, am I going to have to sit through a Josh Gad movie? And I'm sure he's listening right now and his feelings are super hurt. And I'm sorry, sir, but oh boy. He actually made me like Josh Gad. It's a really fun, lighthearted zombie movie. The little kid in it, who I'm totally blanking on his name. His name is Diesel La Torraca, who plays Felix. And he is just such a sweet little kid who kind of just ends up stealing the show at certain points. There's a really fun little segments with him as Darth Vader in it that are just like, if you watch that and your heart doesn't swell just a little bit, like you might want to check to make sure you're still alive. And it ends with like just a really sweet little sort of message in terms of like, you know, things can be really terrible outside, but like it's our humanity that's going to get us through. And I think that's just something that we could all kind of use right now.
Yeah. And it will make you, it'll get that Taylor Swift song stuck in your head.
Oh my God. And then, I know I've talked about this before, but like, I seriously, like a lot of times when you walk out of these screenings at festivals at like 2:30 in the morning and everybody's exhausted and tired because you've been going for 14 or 16 hours that day. People just kind of sort of slump out of these things. And like after Little Monsters, because the end credits song is Bop.
Right.
From Hanson. Like everybody was singing Bop like as they were leaving the theater. And I've never seen that happen before. And it was really fun. But yeah, I just feel like in right now with everything going on, it's just nice to kind of be reminded that, you know, we're all sort of disconnected right now, but ultimately it's our humanity that keeps us connected. Yeah. That's me being profound.
It was profound as hell.
So deep. Put your ass to sleep.
To be not profound, I will continue with the Italian horror, and I've programmed the aforementioned Umberto Lenzi's Eyeball, which is a giallo film about a disguised killer who goes around murdering people and cutting out one of their eyes. And it is probably Lenzi's goofiest gialli. And it's a ton of fun. I've spent the better part of this year kind of deep diving into Umberto Lenzi's filmography. So I've seen most of his movies that I can get a hold of. There's still some stuff that's not readily available in the United States or in the UK. I even imported a couple things just to see it. And there's still some stuff there's still some stuff that's not readily available. But I've watched a ton of his movies, and Eyeball's a real standout just as being a really, really fun, goofy kind of proto-slasher movie. You know, not among my favorite Italian horrors, but I want to show Italian stuff kind of in this, you know, provided this is overnight. And I wanted Lenzi to be represented because I have spent so much time in his company this year that there's something very comforting about being back in that situation. And so I went with Eyeball.
All right. I wish I could talk about it, but I'm way behind. So
That's all right.
I've been making little notes though of things that I have to do. So of things I need to see, because I don't know, maybe eventually I'll finally actually have some time. You'd think in all this stuff going on, I'd be like, oh, I could just watch movies whenever. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I still have all these stupid things to worry about. But I'm excited because I just want to keep trying to push myself a little bit. So
yeah.
So, all right. Well, my next movie, I went with a little sleazy fun, if you will. And I went with, 1986 is making a pop up here. I went with Vamp.
I knew this would be on here.
Yay! I mean, who doesn't want some Dee Dee Pfeiffer in the very early hours of the morning?
I do.
It's a good movie for when like you're sort of bleary eyed and you just kind of don't even know what time it is anymore, because I think that sort of sums up that movie. Where like you just kind of escaped time as it is, and you're just kind of like trying to survive the night at this point. But yeah, again, if you've ever heard anything I've ever said, I have been absolutely in love with Vamp for, pretty much since I found it on VHS in I think it might have been 1988 by the time I rented it. If you don't know what Vamp is, it was directed by Richard Wank, who's gone on to be a very successful screenwriter. It was co-written by Wank and producer Donald B. Borchers, who actually came up with the title treatment and poster art before they even had a script. He just knew he wanted to make a movie named Vamp. He wanted to have a big lipstick sort of look on the art with two little fangs coming through, and from there a movie was born. Obviously Grace Jones is sort of the big highlight in the movie, but as somebody who absolutely adores both Chris Makepeace and Robert Rustler, that's what I initially showed up for. And then, of course, fell in love with Dee Dee Pfeiffer, who is so fantastically funny in that movie. I also love it because it does not treat Getty Watanabe as some sort of stereotype,
right.
Which was unfortunately the case for so many other movies that he did in the 80s. Thanks to Richard Wank for not sort of using those stereotypes as sort of funny moments in the movie whatsoever. He's just sort of a goofy rich kid who just has no friends because he's a goofy rich kid. It also has Billy Drago in it, and Sandy Barron, who is just absolutely fantastic in it as well. And it's got strippers and vampires. What else could you possibly want?
Yeah, it's exactly the movie that you painted out to be. It's really fun and the kind of movie that like is very specific to the 1980s. They don't really make horror comedies like Vamp anymore.
They really don't. And I mean, for me, I was always a kid who grew up loving vampire movies. So obviously pretty much any vampire movie from the 80s means a lot to me. But Vamp always stood up because it was never the movie that anybody ever talked about. It was always, Fright Night, Lost Boys. Sometimes you get like the harder edge people who are like, ooh, Near Dark. And for me, Vamp just was like always sort of this underdog vampire movie that I always felt like really deserved way more respect.
Yeah.
And I always think it's really weird that like Andy Warhol was like hanging out on set and being weird Andy Warhol and stuff like that. And I love the fact that for anybody who's never watched it, and if you go watch it, be sure to watch the big Grace Jones dance scene, because I will let you in on a little secret that nobody in that movie nobody involved with the movie, not the director, producers, anybody, knew what Grace Jones was going to do during her dance. So all of the reactions in that movie are 100% authentic.
That's pretty spectacular.
Because literally everybody in that movie was just like, what the shit? And it's so beautifully authentic. But yeah. And I do think like Robert Rustler's a really funny guy. And I really feel like, because you see him like Weird Science and, of course he's obviously the best friend in Nightmare 2, but I really think Vamp is where he kind of comes into his own, is like sort of his comedic timing.
Yeah.
And I think Wank really uses him to his utmost potential in that movie. And it's very, he has a really great back and forth with Chris Makepeace, who very much is sort of the straight man in the movie, where he's a little trying to be a little more logical about everything. And it also has one of my favorite things where it's like, it's dark, but is it after dark? We say that a lot in our house. So
I like it. It's
yes.
I like it.
Yes.
Next for me, obviously I wanted to include a Tobe Hooper movie in here somewhere.
I would be disappointed if you didn't.
Yeah, it'd be crazy if I didn't. But, a lot of his movies tend to be a little bit like intense, or I went with Invaders from Mars because it's kind of like his kids movie, and it's probably has the smallest teeth on it, but it's still a super fun movie.
Pun intended?
Yeah. Great Stan Winston creature effects, really fun Christopher Young score. Really fun cast with Karen Black and James Karen and what's her name, the conehead from Saturday Night Live, Lorraine Newman.
Yes.
Timothy Bottoms and Hunter Carson is, not giving the best child performance that anyone's ever given in a movie, but I've warmed to it over the years. I find him to be very entertaining. The movie's just really a blast. It's Tobe Hooper having a really good time on Cannon's dime, and I have so much fun with it.
I don't know if you noticed. I mean, I don't expect you to read pretty much anything that I do, but like when I did my little list of things to stream to kind of get you through all this stuff, I did put Invaders from Mars on there.
Thank you.
Because it's on, I believe it's on my good friend Tubi.
Nice.
Yes. But yeah, I do agree. I love the effects. And I actually had never seen it until I basically started writing about effects a lot. So I probably saw it for the first time in like 2012. I want to say it was thereabouts.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, I kind of wish I'd grown up with it, to be really honest. Because I feel like I would have a deeper affection for it. Not that I don't have an affection for it, but I'm like, man, I really wish I would have seen this a lot younger, because I probably would have been something I watched a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
But I would have been sad if you hadn't included Tobe in this.
Well,
so I'm glad that you did.
Me too.
So.
All right. What do we got? Two more?
Two more.
Okay.
So now I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. I'm hitting that home stretch. So I'm going to go with sort of one of my all-time favorites. I went sci-fi for this one. And we're going to bring up our girl, Catherine Mary Stewart, once again. And this is when I brought in The Last Starfighter.
Nice.
Because this is a movie that meant so much to me as a kid growing up. I love the fact that it's basically Michael Myers behind it.
Right.
I'm sure there's nobody out there who doesn't know that, but Nick Castle did direct The Last Starfighter. And I remember as a kid, when I sort of put the two and two together, I was like, what? He could do that? That's crazy. It's filled with so many wonderful performances. It's a really great story. Me being a kid who kind of grew up in a trailer park, it was just nice to sort of see that humanized here in a way that I'd never seen before. Again, there's so many I don't know, maybe it's because I'm white trash or something, but like, I just, I'm tired of movies that have stereotypes about hillbillies and people who live in trailer parks. And I like the fact that what this movie gets right is that there is a sense of community, and that was something that I very much experienced as a kid. I like this idea of, just because of where you live or your economic status, it doesn't mean that you're not destined to do greater things with your life. I think Lance Guest is absolutely fantastic in this movie. Robert Preston, who plays Centauri, is really fun. Dan O'Hurley, who everybody knows as, Mr. Halloween 3, Connell Cochran, is actually working under makeup in this movie and is an absolute delight.
He is.
And Catherine Mary Stewart, of course, is perfect. And
is she in this movie? I didn't even know.
Yeah. And I also think Lewis, who's played by Chris Hebert, he really steals the scenes in a lot of the moments as Alex Rogan's little brother. And I really kind of wish they sort of teased the idea of like a sequel that sort of looks like it's going to follow Lewis. And I kind of wish we'd gotten that. I know there was always talk about doing a sequel. But I think it's a perfect movie. I think it's a movie that filled me with so much wonder as a kid. Still, I know some of the stuff looks sort of dated now. Doesn't bother me in the least bit. And it still just means as much to me as an adult as it was when I was a kid. And it also has little baby Will Wheaton in it too.
That's right.
Yes.
I love this movie. I love everything in this movie, so I'm with you 100%.
Good, because if you said like, it's all right, I don't know that we could be friends anymore, and that would be really sad. That'd be a sad way to sort of wrap up this episode.
Yeah, really. My second to last movie is the second most recent movie in my lineup, and that is Beyond the Gates, Jackson Stewart's movie from a couple years ago, co-written by Jackson Stewart and Steven Scarlatta. Stars Graham Skipper and Chase Williamson as brothers who begin playing a VHS board game and are sucked into like a hell dimension, basically, that opens up in their basement. Mostly I wanted Barbara Crampton here somewhere in the lineup because there are a few things more comforting than Barbara Crampton. So I'm glad that she could make an appearance in this. And
it was nice of her to show up.
It really was. I just really like this movie as a movie that's about healing. I've written about it before as a horror movie with this sort of positive message about coming together and trying to heal old wounds, as opposed to, a lot of horror movies are kind of about tearing apart because that's what's horrifying. But this movie is about dealing with some childhood trauma and reconnecting with family. And it's very sort of uplifting despite being, gory and kind of outlandish. It's a movie I've talked about a whole lot, so I won't harp on about it anymore, but I love it. It means a lot to me. So I wanted to make sure it was included.
Fantastic. And one that I was quoted on.
Yeah, you were.
So it's like we got to tag team that one.
Yeah.
We both championed it. I love Beyond the Gates. I kind of wish we were getting another one of those.
It was talked about for a while. It's still not officially dead yet, but
love.
Yeah,
we can hold out hope, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, everybody's going to be kind of locked up right now. Like, you could kind of do a self-contained sequel at this point, right? Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, if Lady Gaga can make music videos with an iPhone, let's inspire a whole new generation of filmmakers to get out there with their iPhones and just make some stuff.
Did she make a video with an iPhone? I haven't seen that.
She did. Her last music video she just released like 2 weeks ago is a shot on an iPhone. It looks like amazing. But yeah. So anyway, I would be down for more Beyond the Gates is all I'm saying.
All right.
So let's find a way to make that happen. Let's be productive on this time away from the world.
I'm in. All right. What is your big closer?
All right. So my big closer is my second most recent movie on my list. It is a movie that just, if my heart had cockles, they would be supremely warmed by it. It's probably one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years. I wouldn't even say probably. It is one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years. And that would be What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, very nice.
I want to end on a nice, heartwarming mockumentary about vampires. I knew going into this movie that I was going to love it. I really did. Just because of the talent involved. I would literally die for Taika. I'm just saying that. So if I have to die for Taika to live through all of this, I will. And you will all thank me when you eventually go get to see the new Thor movie. But when I was going through my divorce, one of the shows that kind of got me through a lot was Flight of the Conchords. And so when, and I knew Taika had done things like, 'cause obviously he was involved behind the scenes with that. And so I was kind of more like aware of Jermaine Clement. And so just to kind of see them do like in the realm of genre stuff was like super cool. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing vampires and they're making jokes that I'm laughing at because it's funny to me as well. And I just think there was something really special about the way that they were able to come together and make this movie that shouldn't have worked as well as it did. And it does. And I think there's just a really good heart to the movie. It made me cry over the death of a vampire, which I never thought that would happen. I think, Rhys Darby coming in as the werewolves leader and sort of stealing those moments was fantastic. I wasn't even, and I'll even say with the TV show when they were like, oh, we're going to just follow new characters and things. And I was like, what are you doing? And somehow I fell in love with a whole new group of vampires through the TV show. And yet we still get some of them in there as well. But I think it's a really special movie that really taps into so much of what a lot of us love about the genres, and especially vampire movies in general. And it just has a really sweet sort of message at the end where, sometimes even after 100 years, you could still end up with the girl.
Yeah.
Or something like that, or 80 years or something like that.
That's a great one. I still have not watched the TV show.
Really?
Yeah.
I would highly recommend. They're 30 minutes. I'm telling you, you're going to get, there's a part where it comes to the vampire trials, and it's literally going to be the best shit you've ever seen on TV. I guarantee it.
All right.
You could probably blow through that in like one night.
Probably.
Make that a project.
Yeah.
You and Erica are going to have a really great time. I promise you.
All right. Yeah, it's one of those things we'll hopefully get to during our quarantine.
I'm literally going to text you both now every single day until you do it.
Okay.
So get ready for it, because it's coming. I got time.
My last movie is very much on brand with what's going on in the world right now. As I said, I was opening and closing with a movie about the times we're living in, and it is George Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
One of my favorite horror movies of all time. One of my favorite movies, period. And my favorite zombie movie. My favorite sort of apocalyptic movie. As the malls empty out and close down, I just feel like Dawn of the Dead is going to seem more and more prescient. And there is hope in the end. That's why I didn't go with something like Day of the Dead, which is a really great movie, but I know you prefer it to Dawn of the Dead. But to me, Day of the Dead is a little bit more nihilistic. And I was like trying to stay away from that level of nihilism. I went with Dawn of the Dead instead.
I hear you. I almost went with Cabin in the Woods. But then I realized like what it ends up like sort of being like, oh, we should just let it all happen. I was like, oh, maybe that's not the message I'm looking for right now.
No.
So I totally get it. I really love Dawn of the Dead. But for me, Day, I think I love the contain. It just really feels like it almost feels like a heartbeat where it feels so consistent on you, and it just feels like it's pushing you. But I can't be mad at Dawn of the Dead. Like, I'd be an idiot. But yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. It's funny because we actually have a mall that's being built right now down the street from us. And I was like, what if this thing never opens? Like, can we just go hang out there?
Perhaps.
Like, because that would be kind of fun.
Perhaps.
So.
All right. Well, guys, there you have it. There's 48 hours of horror movies to keep you busy during your quarantine. Many of these are streaming. Many of these you probably already own, so get to watching. Or come up with your own 24-hour marathon of horror movies that you find comforting. These are the movies that comfort us. We can't say that they will have the same effect on you, so come up with your own list of 24 hours worth of movies that comfort you. As always, go to dailydead.com every day for the latest and greatest in horror. Go to corpseclub.com to find out more about Corpse Club, listen to past episodes, and find out how you too can join the Corpse Club. Thank you to our engineer, Brian, for taking care of things on the editing side and making everything sound great. And thank you to my horror BFF, Heather Wixson.
Thank you, Horror BFF. I know, hopefully one of these days we'll actually get to see each other again.
Once the planes are up in the air again.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to drive again, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, if this goes the way of the stand, I could just bike ride. It'll take me like 4 weeks, but I'll get there.
You'll get here.
I'll get there, damn it. Or maybe we're all going to end up meeting in Colorado. I don't know at this point.
It could happen. I've never been.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good place to sort of start over again. Yeah. That's what Mother Abigail said.
Anyway, thank you guys very much for listening. And as always, stay safe and stay scary.